So I recently acquired this really groovy Eastwood Sidejack, and I love this guitar. I've been looking for another Mosrite guitar, but if you've checked the Mosrite prices, you'll know that the vintage ones are crazy expensive, and the reissue ones are only mildly crazy expensive. Not to mention the fact that I've owned some vintage ones in the past, and I just never could get along with the really narrow nut width and string spacing and tiny little frets. So the Eastwood was a nice compromise of getting the spirit of a Mosrite with, the more modern, larger frets and wider nut width and string spacing, which was important to me. But I wanted to do a few modifications to the guitar to make it potentially more gig worthy and reliable. Now, let me say as a caveat, there was absolutely no issues with the guitar when I got it. It played great. Everything worked as it should. No problem. Nothing, that I was trying to fix, but I'm just trying to head off potential problems down the road, I guess. So starting at the headstock, I went ahead and swapped out the stock tuners. And this was really an aesthetic thing. The stock tuners worked totally fine, but I just didn't care for the tulip style. I wanted the smaller buttons, which I think look more in line with a vintage Mosrite. And the cool thing is these Goto Minis that I put on there line up perfectly in all ways with the stock tuners. The footprint does, so there's no modifications needed whatsoever. All the holes line up just as they should, and you can put the stock tuners back on. No one would ever be the wiser, which is great. Moving down, I want to say that the frets on this guitar are exceptional at this price point. Very, very impressed with how smooth and polished the frets are and how round the fret ends are. Really, really well done. So here is where we get into the bulk of the mods. Now, as you can see, those are not the stock knobs. I couldn't use the stock knobs anymore because I changed the pots, and the original Chinese mini pots have a smaller diameter than the new pots, so I wasn't able to use them. But I love these knobs. I think they look really classy. They have the same spirit as the stock ones, but they're a little more robust. So I'll show you a before picture of the electronics under the pick guard. As you can see, the stock, mini pots with the plastic wiring. And then here, you'll notice the upgrades I did, which is a pair of 550K Centralab potentiometers. That is a 0.047 microfarad paper and oil bumblebee style capacitor. Around the side here, we have a Protone jack that was installed, and then a Centralab 3-way toggle. All of it is connected with vintage style cloth pushback wire. So everything here is about as good as you can get electronically. Now, I did look at some options for pickup upgrades, but I want to say this, and I think it's an important note. I don't think you would ever need to replace these pickups. Mike at Eastwood did a fantastic job of nailing the Mosrite sound, and they look right, and they're cool pickups. They really sound great, and I don't see any need whatsoever to upgrade the pickup. And in terms of the hardware, the vibrato works really well, nice and springy, nice and smooth. The bridge is great. The guitar stays in tune super well. When I got it, I made a couple of adjustments, kind of seasoned to taste, as a lot of us do with setups. I took a little relief out of the neck and dropped the action just a tiny bit, but absolutely no knock on the setup. Right out of the box, it was nice and playable. So overall, I think the Eastwood Sidejack is a tremendous choice. Now, this is the Deluxe 20th Limited, so it has the upgraded pickups like this with the correct vibrato and all that. And that would be the one I would recommend getting if you're going to do it. And also, I will say that a Jazzmaster style hardshell case will accommodate this guitar. You can get the nice quality gig bag that they sell optional for this guitar, but if you want a hardshell case, a Jazzmaster case, I can confirm, will accommodate the guitar. All right, so without further ado, let's plug this thing in and take a listen to how it sounds. All right, and a quick trip through the signal chain. We go into the pedal board, through the tuner, into the Surfy Industries Blossom Point, into the Surfy Industries Surfy Fuzz, to the Sioux Guitars Dakota County Analog Delay, then into the Surfy Bear Classic Reverb, and into the Surfy Industries Surfy Man, which is acting as my preamp and amplifier, and that is connected to the Surfy Power underneath there, which is giving me 200 watts of power out to my 212 Mojo Tone cabinet loaded with Celestion G12 speakers. All right, so there you have it, the RetroSound modded Eastwood Sidejack guitar. Really fun, great value, and with the mods, all that much better.